Hi, I'm Daniel Andrews, owner and creator of Andrewsfootball.com, and with the sixth pick in the 2019 draft, I'm going to talk about the New York Giants and what they're going to do. Now, New York Giants are in a really unique situation because, yes, they were 5-11 last year, but they had a really good defense, well, pretty good defense, and they possibly have, as far as offensive skill position players, the best in the NFL. And then you also have Eli Manning, who's won 2 Super Bowls. It's really rare for a team that is finished dead last in their division to have a lot of good things going for them. So they're in kind of an unusual situation. Now, here's the thing with the Giants, though, is that I watched them play quite a bit last year, and the one thing that really stood out to me was their offensive line play. It was just horrid. They had all sorts of problems on that offensive line. And just recently, they made a trade. It was a minor trade with everything else going on. It's something, if you blink, maybe you overlooked it, but they went ahead and traded Oliver Vernon, and he was going to get a $19.5 million cap hit this year to Cleveland for guard Kevin Zeitzler. Hopefully I pronounced that right, Zeitler. And then they also re-signed center John Jalapeno. Now, he hurt I think he broke his leg was the injury, but he was playing really good before that leg injury. So you're adding pieces, if you want to say an injured player's and adding pieces, but what they're doing is that they're putting pieces together on their offensive line, and plus with releasing Landon Collins or not re-signing him, they're indicating that they have some extra salary cap or some free agency money available, and I think what they're going to do is use that money to protect the offensive line. So it looks like that they're seeing the same thing that I'm seeing, is that, hey, the defense is good. We have all sorts of skill position talent. Let's just fix this offensive line and we can go. Now, New York's only won 8 games the last 2 years. Now, keep in mind, this is Gettleman and Shermer's first year in New York, but New York's not a town that's famous for being patient. So even though they're only on year 2, they are on the hot seat. So I really believe that if they don't finish at least 500, there's a chance that one or both of them gets fired, because there is a lot of talent on this team. Now, it's also interesting because Gettleman, I looked at some of his history in the draft to try to get an idea of what he's going to do. And the 6 players that he chose as a general manager, now keep in mind he was general manager for several years in Carolina. The players that he chose, Star Latua, I can't pronounce the last name, but you know who the guy is. He was actually a starter day one. Kelvin Benjamin, Shaq Thompson, starters, really good players. Well, Benjamin was. Then he was traded. Vernon Butler, he was selected to start. If I remember right, he didn't start, but was a contributor. Christian McCaffrey, real good career so far with Carolina, and of course Saquon Barkley, who went to the Pro Bowl. You can make an argument that maybe he's the best running back in football going into next year. I would actually make that argument, but I'm in the minority here. So if you look at the past of Gettleman's picks, he's always picked players that can help out immediately in the first round. So that's something that was kind of interesting me when looking over the New York Giants. So, Dan, you need to pick a player who's going to help you this year. I really think that they need to finish at least 500 for one or both of them to keep their job going into next year. And this is tough because you got Dallas, who won the division, and Philly also went to the playoffs. So you're going against 2 playoff teams here. So what do you do? Well, with the 6th pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, I got the Giants taking the local kid, Dwayne Haskins, the quarterback out of Ohio State. Now, are they going to start the rookie quarterback? Absolutely not. Here's the thing. If you're going to get Haskins, you're probably going to have to trade up. And this is where the game inside the game is difficult, because if you look at my mock drafts, I associate a trade value, the trade value chart that the teams used, and a very popular mock trade has been the two New York teams flip-flopping, which would make sense because the Jets at the third pick have a point value of 2,200, where the Giants at pick number 6 have a trade value of 1,600. Now, the 600 difference, if you're going to get technical, is exactly the 31st pick in the draft, but the Giants do have the 5th pick in the second round, which has a trade value of 530. The Jets already made public that they want to go ahead and trade down. So that may be the perfect spot for them. However, while the Giants do have extra picks, they don't have a pick in the third round. So let's just say you trade the first and the second round picks to the New York Jets. Let's just hypothetically say you do this. You need to get better this year now. And you don't have a pick in the first, second, or third round that can help you this year. And this goes against your strategy, too, because you got all this offensive skill position talent, but you're drafting a guy that you want to start in 2020. And let's say instead of giving up the second round pick this year, you want to give up the second next year, even a first round next year, which is probably a little more likely. Let's say you give up the first this year plus the first next year. That way you can keep your second if the Jets go for that, which is a possibility. Then you're asking Haskins to start next year as a rookie, and you don't have that first pick in the draft. That's also a tough thing to do. Another thing is that if you trade the second round pick this year, there's a lot of players in this draft because this is a really deep offensive line draft. This is a draft deep with pass rushers. So this is a really bad situation for the Giants because if you pick within the top 10 next year, then you're going to be out of the job. But if you go with the quarterback, you don't have the position available to get better this year because you can go with the way my mock draft set up. Let's say Haskins is already gone. You can get either Nick Bosa, Josh Allen, or Quinnen Williams, which can help you immediately, or you can use the 6th pick in the draft to draft any offensive lineman. And there's some really good offensive linemen that can come in and start day one and help you out immediately, depending on your draft needs. So there's really a lot of good players. My personal, if you don't take a quarterback, you can go Jonah Williams, and he could start at right tackle day one. There's a few other tackles that you could throw in there as well, but I'm just throwing out a name in there because he's a guy who I think could start right away at right tackle and be a really, really good player. So if you're the New York Giants, this is a tough one because this is the game within the game. I think they really like Haskins. I think they really want to take him, but more than likely they're going to have to trade up. And the Jets made public they want to trade down. The draft values are pretty close, So this is where you play chicken. If you're the New York Giants right now, you got to figure out in the 2019 NFL draft, you're playing chicken. And I think you're playing chicken with the Jets because the Jets are made public, hey, we want to trade down. Here's why you're playing chicken. The Raiders don't want an immobile quarterback. Tampa Bay's not picking a quarterback. The Jets aren't picking a quarterback. San Francisco's not picking a quarterback. And the Arizona Cardinals have made zero interest in Dwayne Haskins. They actually are either going to go with Rosen or they're going to go with Kyler Murray, or if Kyler Murray's available at the second pick, that's good for you because the Giants are the only team in the NFL that's made public, hey, we don't want this guy. And I want to touch base on this real quick. Just knowing Dave Gettleman and his history with the Carolina Panthers, I don't think it's a problem with his height. I think it's a problem that he weighs around 200 pounds because look at all the hits and problems that you have with Cam Newton. And when you have a running quarterback, it's really hard to have a backup running quarterback. All right? And that's something that you have to plan for because Cam Newton's backup for a long time was Derek Anderson. I could probably outrun Derek Anderson, so you have to change the whole offensive playbook around to suit your guy, and that's kind of a difficult prospect. So with Dwayne Haskins, you can run the same offense that Pat Shermer's running right now with Eli Manning, plus you get Eli Manning to train him for a year. However, they've drafted quarterbacks in the past, and none of them really stuck around. In 2013, they drafted Matt Nassib in the 4th round. Last year in this draft, they drafted, Kyle Lauletta in the 4th round. And then, in 2017, they drafted Davis Webb in the 3rd round, and none of these quarterbacks have stuck. So that's part of the reason that I really think the Giants are really going to go for the fences, swing for the fences, draft a quarterback this year, and then say, hey, look, sit for a year. We don't want you to play at all. And then in 2020, they really want Dwayne Haskins to be their starter. Is there a chance that you could trade Eli after 2019 season? Sure, but what are you really going to get for the guy? I don't think you're going to get a lot, but some team may value him a lot more than others. So that's something that remains to be seen. So for the 2019 draft, I got the New York Giants taking Dwayne Haskins. I think that they're going to play chicken and try to get him at 6. But if you were to say, hey, Dan, what are the Giants going to do? I actually think they're going to trade up. I don't know if they're going to trade up to 2, 3, or 4. The way I got the draft going is that they're going to play chicken and they're going to just wait everything out. I think the Jets are going to look at their options and fall in love with Josh Allen. They're going to go ahead and take him. And I think the draft's going to go, surprisingly, without trades. However, it wouldn't surprise me one bit if the Giants end up trading with the Jets and taking Dwayne Haskins at 3. So that's why if you look at my mock draft, I have Haskins at 6, but I also have trade up. Because in my mock draft, I'm not doing any trades. Not this year. I've done mock drafts in the past with trades. So anyway, that's my selection. And if you are a subscriber to Andrews Football, thank you very much. You know you're one of the greatest people on planet Earth. All your wildest dreams will come true. However, if you're new to my channel and you haven't, there's this really awesome button right down here. Bam! Hit that button. Become one of the greatest people on planet Earth. Wait till tomorrow when I break down the 7th pick in the 2019 NFL Draft. So, I'll see you tomorrow.